Well, it's a beautiful afternoon here in my home of Jacksonville, Oregon. Welcome back to today's video. Hopefully you guys are having a good one. No racing for us this past weekend. You guys didn't see any vlogs. We weren't at any track. It actually happened to be my 19th birthday. We spent it right here at the house, had some fun with friends and family, kind of tried to unwind as now we prepare for possibly two of the biggest weeks of our 2022 season. We have 3 nights of racing this weekend coming up, starting at the Cottage Grove Speedway in a 410 on Saturday. Then we head up to the Grays Harbor Raceway on Sunday and drop our 360 in. Then we put our 410 back in and compete at the Skagit Speedway on Monday for the Dirt Cup tune-up. Then we have Tuesday and Wednesday off and have other festivities up in Washington. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is the 50th annual Dirt Cup, which is the biggest Pacific Northwest race there is. And now this season is turning into like one of the biggest 410 races in the country. $50,000 to win, $1,000 for every lap you lead. I think it's $1,000 to start the Saturday feature. Tons of big names from all across the United States are going to be at this race, and there's probably going to be around 10,000 plus fans in attendance. So it's a big one, and it's one we want to be prepared for. So that's why I'm here in the shop this afternoon. We have a lot of work to do to get the race car ready. Unfortunately, we had a rough go in Chico. Kind of just tried to forget about that, and now it's time to make a couple of repairs, get our 410 in the car, and get ready for 6 races we have coming up over the next 2 weeks. And if I'm being 100% honest, I'm looking forward to every single night. It's finally starting to kind of warm up here in the Northwest, so if no rain affects any of our shows, we should be able to get them all in, see pretty slick surfaces, really good car counts, and the best part, you know, all these are big shows, and I'm familiar with all 3 tracks that I'm going to, which is, I mean, that's very comforting, that's very exciting. So Cottage Grove, Grays Harbor Raceway, Skagit Speedway, a lot of money on the line, a lot of eyeballs watching. I'm gonna get to see all my great fans from, you know, my home area. Anyway, I'm gonna get in the shop. It's time to get to work. So it was no secret that our last outing down at the Silver Dollar Speedway on June 3rd and 4th was a rough one. Things just unfortunately did not go to plan for the 2 nights, and we just weren't able to put together a great weekend. So to get started in the shop, I needed to replace the front axle on the car. It got bent just the last time we were on track in that B main on the 2nd day. So replaced the front axle itself, and all the components were able to swap over as those were good. So once we got that in the car, then I was able to work on a couple of just little small projects that I wanted to just do as due diligence to make sure everything was right on the 18T. You can see got the rear arms hooked back up here, and we wanted to check and make sure that the rear end was still square. When you take a hit or two on track, it's easy for things to get unaligned and get twisted or bent. And if that happens, it's easy for the car itself to get bound up, and then it's just not going to drive around the racetrack very well. So once we played with the rear end a little bit and got that back in the right spot, I needed to make some spare radius rods for the front because unfortunately it has been a tough year for me hitting things in the front end of my race car, and it's easy to tear that stuff up when things go wrong. Well, so far so good here in the shop. Went through the 18T, replaced all the broken stuff from Chico. That was, you know, mostly my fault. Had to replace the drag link, front axle. Wanted to check and make sure the rear end was squared. It actually was. Also made some spare radius rods. For any of my viewers that aren't big into sprint cars, the radius rods are actually a very key component on our race car. That is what connects from the frame to our front axle or our rear axle and kind of holds everything in the right spot and keeps it square. So just a little bit earlier, I was trying to build a couple more sets of them, and you do that using this tool. You pull the radius rod off the car, you put it right here, and you can adjust it to the proper length. Once you get it set to the right length, you can turn this little dial, tighten it down. Now it won't go anywhere. You can get your new radius rod, set it on here, and then dial it in with both rod ends. So that is something that we usually have to do throughout the season here at THR. Now while we've been working, we have had Ohio Speedweek on. Right now they are currently racing at Wayne County, and I am just so sad and disappointed that we are not there this year. Running 6 of the 7 nights that were ran in 2021. What an incredible experience that was, seeing all the Ohio tracks, or most of them I should say, but Wayne County was a fun one. It almost has like a Tulare curb in 1 and 2. Very, very dusty. I remember putting tape over all my vents just so I could see throughout my B main. And as you can see in this shop, and it was the same when we were there, so many fans. I guess the only thing we've learned this year by sitting at home is that we have to be back in 2023. So we ran in 2021, didn't make it this year, but next year we we are going to do whatever we have to run every single night of Ohio Speed Week. Doesn't matter if diesel is $30 a gallon. We're going to just work as hard as we can, get back there, see all of our great Ohio fans.
Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Peck climbing atop the number 13. Let him hear it.
So we took a quick break here in the shop, just finished watching Wayne County All-Stars Ohio Speed Week, and as I said earlier, definitely sad that we're not there. If any of you guys were there, let me know, but from Flow Racing, it looked like it was a pretty good show. Maybe not as dusty as normal, a little bit of a race up front, but Justin Peck was pretty much the class of the field, and I'm sure he's going to be good throughout the rest of the week. Also just hoisted up the 410, about to drop it in the 18T. Once we get it in, this thing will be pretty dang close to being race ready. Tried to do all my other maintenance stuff before we pulled the engine out of the car, so definitely great progress today and a good head start on our week. So I feel like I've showed you guys putting our engine in many times, especially this season, but as normal, we just got all the bolts started. We're gonna get the ones in the front in as well before we tighten anything up. That was actually super smooth, dropped the 410. We were able to get the U-joint over the drive shaft very easily, then the fuel pump lined up quickly. And now that the race is over, we have American pickers on to keep the TV rolling in the shop. But yeah, just a couple more minutes and this thing will be all dialed in. Well, we started off the week on the right foot with the 18T, made some great gains in the shop yesterday. I always tell you guys I'm not the type of person that likes to be scrambling. I always want to be prepared. And just as a race car driver and as a team, we're going into the time of the season, you have to be prepared. Things are going to get chaotic. You have to learn to deal with that. But going into Dirt Cup, I want to be 100% ready, prepared, focused, and have everything we need resource-wise, equipment-wise, mentally and physically-wise, everything we got on our team to be ready to chase that big money. It obviously pays really good to win. It pays good throughout the whole field, so there's a lot of excitement there, and then all the races kind of leading up to it. And I wanted to end my video with this question for my viewer because I'm curious to hear your guys' answers. There's two questions. The first is, what would you do with $50,000? If you won the Dirt Cup tomorrow and you got a $50,000 check, what are you doing with it? You putting it in the bank? Would you immediately go and spend it? Is there an item or something you've been wanting? Would you put it back into your race team? Would you buy a new, new sprint car engine? Would you buy a new late model engine? Would you buy a new car? There's so much you could do with $50,000, so I'd be curious to hear what your answer would be for that. The second is, what would you do to win $50,000? If you're in striking distance on the last lap, how far would you go to make it happen? I know as a racer, I would put it all out on the line. I wouldn't say, basically any race car driver, and myself included, would be lying if they told you if they were in position to win the Dirt Cup or win any race that paid that amount of money, would just go out there and try to be as clean and fair about it as possible. Everything is going to be out on the line in those last couple of laps. If there's a late race restart or the leaders are closer, anybody up front has a shot. You're going to want to be tuned in on Flow Racing to see how it goes down at the Skagit Speedway, or if you have tickets, it's going to be even better in person. So yeah, we're putting a ton of time and effort in here in the shop. That's where races are won, and I'm absolutely looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see what this does for 410 racing out here on the West Coast. I know it's not as popular on this end of the country, but with what Peter Murphy and all these tracks are coming together to do, and some of the people backing with the high payouts and the lap money and all these races and the schedule and King of the West, man, I feel like 410s are going to be back on the rise and have a bright future over the next 10 years as they continue to build up and really show the talent and what we have out here on the West Coast as far as racetracks and facilities and atmosphere, and it's going to be cool to kind of broadcast that to the rest of the United States and the rest of the world. Anyway, make sure to drop a comment down below. I want to know, what would you do to win $50,000? How far would you take it? And what would you do if you won 50 grand? What are you purchasing? What are you using that money for? Anyway, I'll see you guys all in the next video. We have more work to do here in the shop, and we'll have more videos coming your way on our road to Dirt Cup. See you guys all there. Deuces.